Hi, I'm Sublo, the Hungry Submarine.
And I'm Tangy Mustard, the Sandwich Parrot.
Together, we're
Sublo and Tangy
Mustard.
Mustard.
Have you ever been on YouTube and watched a funny animation, only to find out there's not only another episode, but several more? Like, how did I not know about this series until now? Meet Aaron Long's Sublo and Tangy Mustard, a show about two guys who can never take off their mascot costumes, hanging out with their disgruntled worker Katie under the watchful eye of their boss, Digwoo Bomber. And in this video, I'm going to deep dive into the history and behind the scenes of the show, thanks to an interview with the creator himself. Hello, I'm Ryan, and we're going to be tanking up in this Sublo Mustard. Aaron Long is a 33-year-old animator from Toronto, Canada. He started off drawing at an early age thanks to his mom and dad. He was inspired by the likes of old cartoons such as Popeye, Betty Boop, and even Looney Tunes, as well as Studio 4C, Time to Galaxy, and even Windy Tales. Starting in his formative years, he'd also take up playing piano. This led him to find his love in creating music as well. During his time in high school, he'd do stop-motion animations, and he even created his first shorts called Slick Nick, Private Dick, featuring voices of his friends and family. He eventually attended Max the Mutt College Animation Art and Design in Toronto, Canada, and during this time, he continued to post on YouTube and even Newgrounds, even showing off some of his college works, like animating Sonic's at AM's Dr. Robotnik skipping on paper. Ooh, there he is. Aaron found himself in the industry thanks to cartoons like Fester Fish, a character inspired by 1940s American cartoons. He wanted to make an unappealing character seem cute and endearing.
Don't drink that, you stupid kid. That's for me. It unleashes my id.
Doing freelance work, he'd find his way onto Comedy Central's Trip Tank, along with fellow animators like Yotem Perel and even Zuriel. Zach Hato and Chris O'Neill almost worked on that show. You can see more facts about them in my video about their former show, Hellbenders. But back to Aaron, he would make his way onto Netflix's BoJack Horseman. Originally as a storyboard artist, he would also find himself creating promos and even commercials for the show, and he noted that he would draw the storyboards in Adobe Flash. He would be an assistant director on season 3, eventually becoming a full director on season 4 to the end of the show's run. Some of these directorial episodes include The Showstopper and Xerox of Xerox. He would even draw himself as an extra set hand called Mr. Wiggles that shows up a few times within the show. Around this time, he'd also find work on the pseudo-sister show, Tuca and Birdie. At the time it was promoted, I thought it was in the same universe as BoJack, but it apparently wasn't. As when preparing for the first season, a lot of the BoJack alumni came onto the show. They tried to be more hand-drawn and less rig-based of their approach, but sort of fell back into the BoJack pipeline with this new show. Aaron would be there to direct and be a retake animator, as well as do promos and interstitials for the show. However, he got the greatest honor by being able to direct the intro of the show.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was one of the last things we did. I think we did it during retakes because we kept kicking the can down the road all through the season. It was like, oh, we don't know if we're going to even have an intro sequence. And then towards the end, they finally decided, yes, we're going to have one. And yeah, it was really fun. I had a lot of freedom with it. We just sort of talked a little bit about what the intro should have in it, and how it should feel and what aspects of the show we were trying to communicate. The friendship between Tuca and Birdie, but also trying to focus on the fact that they live in this crazy, nonsensical town.
After that show ended, he would be doing freelance work on other shows, including Clone High, as he would animate on season 2's Mr. Butlertron's side backstory. And on the note of the industry, I asked him how to get into it.
So it sort of depends what your goal is. I mean, obviously you want to pay your rent, but just in terms of if it's whether you want to make your own thing or you're okay with just kind of working on other people's stuff or doing sort of a combination, which is what I do. Yeah, I think my main piece of advice would just be to do stuff that showcases the kind of things that you want to do. And I think I've said this before in other places too, but it's easy to get sort of sucked into like a path that you're not that into in the industry based on what people want you to do. But if you're more conscious about like the kinds of work that you want to do and like the kind of style you want to work in or whatever, I think it's possible to sort of make that happen. If you demonstrate this is the kind of, whether you want to work in like an anime style thing or like adult sitcom or like I don't know a lot of people who want to work in preschool, but or like a sort of kids board driven show, like, do that kind of work. And then that's what will come to you sort of in a way.
However, throughout the years he's been in the industry, he keeps coming back to his cult classic series, Sublo and Tangy Mustard.
Sublo, why ain't you wearing a shirt?
Wait, what?
You seen the sign, no shirt, no service. That goes for you too.
Also, if you're liking the video so far, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Thanks. Aaron got the idea for Sublo and Tangy Mustard all the way back in 2014. His first tweet about the show would be typed April 7th, 2015, and 2 days later, the first walk cycle for the characters would be released too. Animated in Flash CS5, this is a very loose series, both in the sense of animation and story. Of the 18 episodes, they vary in length between 30-ish seconds to a full 11 minutes and 30-ish seconds. Not every story is about them at their workplace subpar sandwiches, as we often see them venturing around Canada doing other things. And the show is proud to show off where it's based on.
I try to make the show sort of explicitly Canadian. I mean, I don't want to go out of my way. It's not like I'm writing stories about the fact that it's Canadian, but I really want to feature Toronto as like a part of the show's atmosphere and the reality of it, you know? I mean, I don't want it to feel like a generic city. I want it to be like, oh, if you're paying attention, yeah, it's specifically Toronto, you know? So I'll reference like the street names, and they take the TTC, and I put in little like cameos, sort of like there's this one guy down at Yonge and Dundas Square who's always yelling "Believe" at people. He's like, you know, giving out religious pamphlets. So I put a picture of him on the subway in the picnic episode. I don't think he actually does those. He doesn't have like subway ads, but I just wanted to get him in the show somehow because I think he's Toronto icon, you know? And if you look at the backgrounds in some, like I think especially in Sublo's apartment, there's posters all over the place of like various things I like. And some of them are, I think there's a Kenny versus Spenny one. I love Kenny versus Spenny. But I sort of like distort them and stylize them enough that hopefully you can't recognize exactly what they are. But there is a Kenny versus Spenny poster in Sublo and Tito's apartment.
Though I did ask a very important Canadian question, if he liked ketchup chips, but sadly he doesn't. All dressed is where it's at. Also, his favorite Subway sandwich would be the meatball sub, which would be mentioned in episode of the show.
Actually, not here to eat. I just
We'll
thought...
buy your food. Just don't blow this for us.
Fine. I'll have a small meatball sub.
He also prefers the egg salad sandwich Subway had, but they apparently stopped selling it. But enough about food, we need to get into the show. Come on. It was based around his time in his 20s, making it more of a contemporary piece.
But I basically wanted to do something that was less of a pastiche of old stuff and things that already existed, and more just you know, rather than trying to imitate the flavor of something else, trying to just have a new flavor, basically. Something that was more directly inspired by my own experiences, as opposed to like what happens in other cartoons, and something set contemporary, you know, and like modern day. Although at this point, it's probably almost a period piece, realistically. Like, Toronto's so expensive now. But, you know, it's sort of like inspired by when I was in college and even in high school, I guess, a little bit. Although I kind of keep the characters' ages vague. But it was just me wanting to do a cartoon version of my own experiences more, mixed with some whimsical, stupid stuff, like the fact that they're mascots, obviously. The mascot thing is kind of just a weird gimmick to give the illusion of a premise, you know, because basically the show is just slice of life bullshit. But I kind of feel like the mascot thing makes it seem like there's a premise to it, you know, like, oh, in theory it's about them working at this restaurant, but it's not really.
You can keep the painting, but I'm keeping these pants.
Yes! Yarr. Oh, man, those were my only pants.
What's interesting about the show is that apart from the voices, he does everything himself. Writing, directing, and even making the music, this is a true auteur cartoon. Not that he wouldn't mind getting help with it, but we'll get into that later. Much like Slick Nick, his friends and family voice the characters of the show. His cousin Ryan Long voices Sublo, with longtime friend Kevin Doan voicing Tangy Mustard. Heather Mazar voices Katie, and Aaron himself voices Dick Woobomber.
I would love to incorporate more voices into the show visually if I had the money, but I kind of just enjoy doing it all myself. Like, there's not really many parts of the process that are like a chore. I sort of try and, a big part of my philosophy with it is I have to try and find ways to make it fun, because otherwise it just doesn't get done, you know? So sometimes I do the backgrounds in slightly different styles, you know, certain episodes are more collage-y and other ones are more like drawn, just based on what I feel like would be a fun way to handle the scenes and stuff, to handle the story. And same with the animation. There are certain episodes where I'm a little more motivated to go crazy with the visuals, and other ones where it's more perfunctory. I just have to find ways to keep it fun, really, you know?
Do you still have Tito's pants?
No. No, I don't have Tito's pants. I threw them out the day we broke up.
Ah, really?
Sorry, man, we tried.
In a standard season of production goes like this. He writes a bunch of episodes and chooses the ones to keep. This takes around 2 to 3 months to do. He then records the lines, creates the thumbs and storyboards. After he boards about 4 to 5 of them, he starts animating and creating backgrounds for an episode. A 4-minute episode would take about 2 to 3 months to create, so about 5 months total for a single animation. Now this can vary depending on length, as well as what his day-to-day job allows him to create when he has off time. And when he finishes a cartoon, there are long breaks between each animation, some ranging from a few months to even 2 years. In recording the lines so far back, he's able to pick up where he left off at anytime. Currently for the 3rd season, he's using recorded lines in 2021, and he's not even halfway through. To clarify, Season 1 is episodes 1 through 4, written in 2015. Season 2 is episodes 5 through 15, written in 2017. So episode 16 onward is Season 3, written in 2021.
I try to, do like obligatory episodes that do actually focus on them being at work every once in a while. I've got some more of those coming up. And, I find them harder to write because they're less based on my own experiences. Like, I've never worked as a mascot, but I think that they're kind of important for like the balance of the show to have some stories that aren't about personal drama,
Oh! If Sublo's here, that means Tangy Mustard is too! Yar!
Oh, my little Dante is so excited. Tangy Mustard's his favorite character on TV.
Oh, that's cool.
The series would gain a cult following, appearing on the front page of Newgrounds as a feature cartoon, as well as a cameo in the side-to-side banner on the website. Sublo would even make a cameo in another contemporary artist cartoon, Naughty Boys by Goonshire, and the two characters would even be 3D cameos in the game Tower Unite. Wow. He would appear at Taffy 2019 as a guest, as well as Animation Block Party in 2020, 2022, and 2023, even doing a promo for the show the second time he came by.
Well, anyway, this is the Animation Block Party Valentine's Special with picture disc comedy and shorts curated by Malt Adult.
Oh, hell yeah.
The backgrounds for the show will be made in Photoshop, simulating watercolors in loose fashion. Due to the style, he's able to quickly produce such works of art, even making 25 color backgrounds for an episode in less than a week? Wow. And he had reached out to places in order to pitch his show, with the first episode essentially being an animation to show investors, though he didn't hear back on them. On that note, the show will get more adult over time, with its use of blood, alcohol, and even swastikas.
But what if I just do this? All better?
How about the other one?
What? I'll just, Okay, you won this round.
For a story about funny mascots, it does delve into some deeper aspects about their friend Katie. She's a failed artist working at the shop trying to make a name for herself, or at the very least, make a piece that means something. When brought upon by failure, she would try to escape into the nightclub scene, trying to avoid her problems while always crawling back to her artistic side.
Oh, wow. This color palette is so beautiful. Is it weird that I kind of want to paint this right now?
Ugh, you said you were done with art. Come on, we need more drinks.
I think I'm good for now.
Also, I mean the characters are always wearing their costumes, I really do mean it. We never see them without their costumes on, and we don't even know their government names. Alright, we do see Tangy Mustard out of his clothes off screen, but still never his face.
I've never wanted to know too much about who they are outside of their costumes. Like, I haven't come up with real names or identities for them. I have ideas about like their families and stuff, like their sort of their home situations or whatever, but I don't want to include that stuff in the show. And like I've drawn like oh, what would they look like outside of the costume, but I'm never going to show that in the show. I don't want to. I feel like that would ruin it, It's possible that you'd see the family, but the thing is, like, I don't even really want to show like what race they are. I mean, you can kind of guess from like the voice actors, but like I like that it's ambiguous within the show, that almost everything about them. Like, I don't really want to tie down like how old they are either, partly because I'm getting older and I still want to relate to them, but also just because I think it's easier, and I don't know, I like to keep that stuff vague. But so anyway, the thing about the family is, as soon as you show, Tangy Mustard's mom and dad, you can kind of imagine what he looks like, and I don't want you to even really be thinking about that. I'm not even thinking about them really as people in suits a lot of the time. I mean, the way I animate them, like Tangy Mustard's face doesn't move and stuff, I'm like, it's in my mind as that's how he looks, but I'm not really like thinking too much about them outside of the costumes.
Sublo would have an identity crisis at the subpar convention, seeing many like him, making him wonder who he truly is under that costume. For this episode, Aaron would ask indie animators on Twitter if they want to be a part of it. As part of Sublo's psychological breakdown, having a variety of indie animators can help visually show off his psychosis. He would get many applicants, and Happy included them in the show, and that's a fun part about indie shows like this. The ability to ask those around you if you'd like to be a part of it, without worrying about a studio trying to wear you down with standards and practices.
Whoa, that's a lot of us.
When I first saw Sublo and Tangy Mustard have 18 episodes, I was really surprised. I was ecstatic to see an hour's worth of animation from such a good creator, and I'm glad to be talking about and interviewing Aaron Long to put a showcase on the hidden talents within the indie space. Okay, well, hidden is a loose word as people are watching his works, but even more people should do so, and ask my fans what they thought about the series. Jorge Rosado, 2087 said,
"One of the best animated shows I've ever seen. It's got that regular show charm while also being more representative of Canada and Toronto, so that's a big big plus.
Gazillion said,
I really enjoy its simple art style. Reminds me a bit of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Also, the characters are memorable and funny in great ways, like how they went to a convention to do an audition, or the episode where they're at a park. Highly recommend checking out the series.
and lastly Lock D said,
Hell yeah, this show kicks ass. Rewatched it several times and it's always funny. Writing/acting for the characters is fantastic. Animation is funky as shit in the best way. If I'm not mistaken, the creator is inspired by Masaki Yuasa. And it shows, lol.
in the long run, I hope he get the recognition he deserves with his series. I'm glad to have found Sublo and Tangy Mustard, and I'm happy to hear he has a lot more ideas that have yet to be drawn onto screen. As of now, he doesn't have an end in mind, leaving each season open for another batch of episodes. I look forward to the next episode, and hope that more can appreciate this indie Canadian show.
I'd say if you want to make your own show, I guess it depends if you want to do it like I do, all on my own, or with like a crew like Hell of a Boss or something. Because I have no knowledge of how that works. I've met Vivian a couple of times. I don't have too much insight into that. But if you want to make your own show the way I do, trying to, focus on ways to make it fun, because the reality is if you're doing everything yourself, it has to be fun or you're not going to get it done, because nobody else is giving you money up front either. So that's not really much of an incentive. Yeah, find ways to make it fun and don't try to bite off more than you can chew. Like I do small batches of episodes basically, because then I can get them done and then evaluate. You don't want to sign yourself up for like a long serialized story that's going to take you 10 years to write it, and then halfway through you're kind of sick of doing it. Just, keep the scale of it manageable.
Overall, barely satisfactory.
Barely satisfactory!
Hey, thanks for watching, and be sure to support me on everything. Literally, everything.
Literally, all my social medias. Shout out to Aaron Long for letting me interview him.
Nice. Also shout out to Valentine Bay VA, who did voice lines for this video. Nice. Also go check out my animated podcast, So Does JJ. Ooh, whoop.
Every single time we come back and the other one still shows up. Who knew?
I know.
Can you believe it?
Until next time, keep on drawing, and don't forget to have fantastic.